Now, Craig Sawyer, former Special Forces operator who now hunts child predators, is openly acknowledging the existence of such operations. Watch.
The investigators that told me about the nature of the darkest cases that they were investigating, and there are many layers to what happens to the children and different types of abuse. Some of it is financial. 38 to $50 billion a year criminal enterprise inside the United States. That's huge, folks. That's bigger than most major corporations that we celebrate as being rich. So there's a lot of money. And so there's one motivator. There's a lot of sexual perversion. That's another motivator. So there's another layer of the onion. And then there's just these sadistic people who get off on abusing children and the power trip. Then there's the political layer of blackmail, and we call it brownstoning operations in the intelligence community, where public figures are filmed committing crimes, having sex with underage kids, and that is then used to blackmail them. So you and I, the American citizen, when we vote, we're not getting what we're voting for because our elected officials, so many of them are compromised with these brownstoning operations at the mansions and the parties and the islands where they've been filmed doing God only knows what, because they have no integrity and they're not good people. And, you know, shame on the people that say that integrity and character do not matter in a public official. Yes, they do matter, because that's the only thing that causes them to act in good faith when nobody's looking. And we've seen in decades past that they can pretty much get around the letter of the law anytime they want. So it's only down to what they're actually made of and what their core values and beliefs that have caused them to act in good faith for we the people. So we do need to get back to putting people with strong ethical and moral character into office so that they'll actually do what they say and that they won't be so easily bribable and blackmailable with these.
Now, he just scratched the surface there. So later in the podcast, I asked him to go deeper into the topic. And I asked him if Jeffrey Epstein, who had close ties to Bill Clinton, was tasked with carrying out brownstone operations to compromise our elected officials, as it's believed that Epstein had video cameras set up at his Palm Beach home as well as his New York mansion. Watch.
Was Epstein an agent to fulfill these types of operations so that they could get these politicians on the hook?
Yeah, I don't know for a fact that he was. There's a lot of speculation and chatter that he was. And let's say here's one scenario of a brownstoning operation outside of a mansion or something like Epstein was involved in. Let's say you've got a politician at a bar at a hotel in near D.C. Mm-hmm. And maybe some woman that comes in that's just drop dead gorgeous sits down next to him, starts smiling, and they start the conversation. Next thing you know, he's only had one drink, but he feels like he can barely stand up. He's like totally out of his mind. He's losing it. She's saying, "Hey, I've got a room upstairs, or I've got a room next door. You want to just go relax?" And next thing you know, he wakes up naked, maybe with a note or a Polaroid on his chest of him right there. But in the photograph, there's a child. And maybe the child is abused. Maybe the child is in chains. Maybe it's a very damning, incriminating photograph of him having done God knows what with a child. And that is a classic snapshot example of how a brownstoning operation can be conducted. So now that politician would be compromised, and he would have to do whatever his handlers tell him, or the video or photos of him would be made public and ruin his career. So a lot of these people, they're so dedicated to their own career and their own paycheck that they would not say the heck with it. I'll tell the truth and push through this to try to continue serving in good faith. So many people are so weak charactered that or they're actual perverts and they've done the thing and they like it and they just don't want to admit it. So anyway, one way or another, that's how so many of our politicians are compromised. And yeah, there's a lot of intelligence communities from different nations around the world that are involved in this, because they all want that power and influence and intel. So it's a big ugly game, and most of it we're not privy to as typical citizens. I've learned a little bit from it from the inside of the intelligence community, and you see who we've got on our board at Veterans for Child Rescue. We've got some pretty heavy hitters on our board, and people that I've protected and worked with in different agencies over the years. So it's something that's bad because we, the American citizens, are not getting what we're voting for, and we're not being told about the threat against our children because, again, a lot of these elites are in on it. There's a lot of top cover to protect people that are, deemed too big to fail or too connected. And I'll say I'm not down with that. I think there needs to be, Lady Justice needs to be truly blind.
Absolutely. Now, with the arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell, new information has come to light that indicates she does, in fact, possess recordings of at least 2 current members of Congress engaged in compromising activities, likely with minors. The confirmation from Craig Sawyer of the existence of Brownstone operation only adds more layers to a very dark underworld that Epstein was involved with. All facts point to Epstein working with international intelligence agencies for the sole purpose of compromising elected officials and elites so they could be controlled. Now, time will tell if Maxwell's Brownstone videos ever surface in the course of her trial, if she even makes it. Now, remember, if you want to see the full interview with Craig Sawyer or find out more about his efforts to fight child trafficking, hit the links in the description. And if you want to make a donation right now, you can donate. You can text V4CR1. Text that to 44321. Comment below. We'll see you at the next report. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.